Hello and welcome. Our main focus in this lesson will be to discuss different calendar categories available in the Primavera P6. So by the end of this lesson, you will be able to create, modify, and assign calendars easily for your project and resources in the Oracle Primavera P6 software. By the way, do you know why we are using calendars in our project schedule? Please always note that a calendar in a project schedule is used to define the working and non-working days for a certain resource type in the Oracle Primavera P6. And don't forget that we use the information in the calendars to schedule and track activities in our projects. Kindly remember that we can create three types of calendar categories in the Oracle Primavera P6 software, which are global calendars, resource calendars, and the third category is project calendars. Now let's understand these categories one by one. Please always keep this into your mind that the global calendars are created and used on the activities and resources across all the projects in your organization. Now next comes the resource calendars. The resource calendars are created for the specific resource types only. Please note that, and remember here we have two types of resource calendars, which are personal and shared calendars. Now let's see what is the difference between a personal calendar and a shared calendar. A personal calendar is created for a specific individual resource only, and the shared calendar may be assigned to one or more resources. So a shared calendar simply means that if a resource calendar is shared with more than one resource, then it is called a shared calendar. Now, the project calendars, on the other hand, are created and available only to the project for which the calendar is created for. I mean, the project calendar can be assigned to the activities within the project. Please note that a certain project can also have a default calendar, which may be either a project calendar or it can be a global calendar. In the Oracle Primavera P6, you can create and manage any number of calendars in whatever way you want, whether your activities may require a 5 days per week or a 6 days per week calendar, or in fact, any number of work hours per day for your project team can be managed here in the Oracle Primavera P6 as needed. I mean, you can easily define and modify daily working hours, holidays, and the break times exactly according to your project needs. Okay, then let's move forward. And in this lesson, let's learn the procedure to create, assign, and modify any type of calendar in the Oracle Primavera P6 software. Now, in order to create the different calendar types in the Oracle Primavera P6, if you can recall from our previous lesson where we have discussed the Oracle Primavera P6 menu options in detail, in the beginning of this course, where we explained that the calendars options in the enterprise menu is used to create the different categories of calendars as needed. We have the enterprise menu in the top of the Oracle Primavera P6. Okay, so let's click on enterprise menu from the top. In the enterprise menu, let's click on calendars, and you see here the calendars window is opened in front of us. Let me adjust the position of this calendars window so that we can see it clearly. Now let me drag it on the right side to make it a little bit bigger. Okay, now as you see here in this window, the global option or the global radio button is selected there. And in the global radio button, we have 5 global calendars that are created there by default. But the default calendar that is being used is standard full-time, and the default check mark is clicked here. That means whenever we will create a new project, this default calendar will be assigned to the new project automatically. Now on the right side we have close button in the upper right corner. If we click on this close button, the calendars window will be closed. Add button is used to add the new calendars. Delete button is used to delete the calendar. Modify button is used to modify the selected calendar in the window. And used by button is used to show the projects or resources that are using this particular calendar. As you know, we have already said in our previous discussion that global calendars are created and used for the activities and resources across all the projects in the organization. Please always remember that I cannot delete a certain calendar if it is being used by some other projects, activities, or resources in the organization. For example, if I click on 7/24 calendar and click on delete button, you see calendar 7/24 cannot be deleted because it is used by other projects. So if I click on used by button, it will show us the project names that are using this particular calendar. So that's the reason we will not be able to delete this calendar. But of course, we can modify the selected calendar by using the modify button in the right side whenever required. Now, another important point that if you want to change your default calendar, it's very easy. We can select the calendar. For example, here I want to make this trades 5-day work week calendar as my default calendar. So I will select this and I can click on the check mark in the default column in front of selected calendar. And you see now our default calendar has been changed to trades 5-day work week. And from now on, whenever we will create a new project, the trades 5-day work week calendar will be assigned to the new projects automatically. Please remember here, only one calendar can be made default at a time. Now let's move to our next calendar category, which is resource calendars. Let me click the resource radio button here. Now, if you note down in the resource calendars category, we have two types of calendars here. We have personal resource calendars and we have shared resource calendars. Please note that a personal calendar is created for a specific individual resource only, while the shared resource calendars are created and assigned to one or more resources. So a shared resource simply means that if a resource calendar is shared with more than one resource, then it is called a shared calendar. Okay, so now let's move to the project calendars category. I will click on the project radio button now. Now this window is empty since we don't have any calendars created for the projects only. As we said earlier that the project calendars are created and available only to the project for which the calendar is created for. I mean, the project calendar can be assigned to the activities within that project only. Now, if you have observed here that the two global, two shared, and two personals are disabled and grayed out in the project calendars category. Now, if I click on global calendars category, now here again, all these three buttons are grayed out. But if I click on resource calendars category, none of these buttons are highlighted except the add and the help button. But if I click on the personal resource calendar such as Frank Shu, now you see the two global and the two shared button are highlighted, but the two personal button is grayed out. It's because we have selected the personal resource calendars called Frank Shu. If I click on the shared resource calendars, the two personal button is enabled. That means we can convert the shared resource calendar back to the personal resource calendars by using this two personal button whenever required. Similarly, if I click on the personal resource calendar, then we can convert the personal resource calendar to the shared calendars as needed. Now, in order to understand this further, let me add a new personal resource calendar, and you see this, the select resource window is opened here after clicking the add button. So let's say I want to add the calendar for this resource called electrician. I will select the electrician resource name in the list and will click on the select button here. Now you see immediately after that, the electrician calendar is added under personal resource calendars. Now, if I want to convert this personal resource calendar to the shared resource calendar, I will click on to shared button. Now you see it is giving me the message, are you sure you want to convert this calendar to a shared resource calendar? I will click yes, and immediately after this, the personal resource calendar is converted to the shared resource calendar, which is electrician. Now, if I want to convert this back to the personal resource calendar, I will click on to personal and I will select the resource name, click on select button, and are you sure you want to convert this calendar? I will click yes, and it is converted back to the personal resource calendar type. If you can remember, we have already discussed and explained the difference between the personal resource calendars and the shared resource calendars. The personal resource calendar is the calendar type that is used only for the resource it is created for, and the shared resource calendars can be shared across other resources in the project. Now, once I change the personal resource calendar to the shared resource calendar, now you see, now I can change this shared resource calendars to global calendars if required. Now I'm clicking on to global button now. It is giving me the message that are you sure you want to convert this calendar to a global calendar? Okay, since I want to convert this calendar to global calendar, so I will click yes. Now this calendar type is disappeared from the shared resource calendar. If I click on global calendars option, now you see we have the new calendar, new global calendar in the list called electrician. So this is how we can convert personal resource calendar to shared resource calendar or a shared resource calendar back to the personal resource calendar whenever needed. So up to this point, let me refresh what we have covered so far. We have explained the global calendar types, resource calendar types, and the project calendar types. Now we are aware and are familiar now with all the buttons on the right side, which are add, delete, modify, used by, to global, to shared, and to personal button there. Okay, so let's move to the main part of our discussion today, where we are going to add the calendar under each calendar category. We'll add the calendar in global, resource, and project calendar categories. Let's start from the global category. I will click on global radio button, where you can see here our default calendar is trades 5-day work week, which is highlighted. So in order to add calendar on the right side, I will click on add radio button. Now the select calendar to copy from window is opened here. Let's say I want to copy, which is our default calendar. So I'll click on trade 5-day work week, and I will click on select button in the right side. Now you see the new calendar is appeared in the global calendars category. I will rename the calendar to Arba 6 days per week. Okay, so that's simple, and this is how we are going to add a new calendar. Now, another important point to note here that since we have copied a trades 5 days per week calendar, so our new calendar called Arba 6 days per week is also 5 days per week. But here our objective is to make and modify this calendar as per our own requirements and make it 6 days per week. And for that purpose, I'm going to click on Modify button in the right side. Now you see a new calendar window is opened in front of us, where it is at the top, the title is Global Calendar Arba 6 days per week. As you can see here in the window, Saturdays and Sundays are grayed out. That means Saturday, Sundays are non-working days, and from Monday to Friday, we have work days. Now, there are two options by using which we can modify our calendars at the top. So these are total work hours per day and detailed work hours per day. Let me click on total work hours per day. Now, I want to make Saturdays a work day as per the requirements we discussed before, since we want to make our calendar 6 days per week. At the moment, our work days are Monday to Friday. That means we have 5 days per week to work. Then I'll click on work week. I will change the Saturday from 0 to 8 hours, and I'll click on OK button here. Now you see the Saturday is not grayed out anymore. So all the Saturdays are working days now. It doesn't matter any month. As per this calendar, all the Saturdays are changed to working days. And you see now, instead of Monday to Friday, our working days are changed from Monday to Saturday, that are 6 days per week, 8 hours per day. So this is how we can modify our calendar by using the total work hours per day. Once I click on OK button, all the settings we have just made will be saved to our calendar called Arba 6 days per week calendar in the global category. So I'll click OK now. Now for the detailed work hours per day option, it's better to add another calendar to understand this better. So I will click on Add button again. Now let me copy the default calendar by clicking on Trades 5 day per week, Trades 5 day work week. I will click on Select button on the right side. Okay, so the new calendar is added there already. I will rename the new calendar as Arba 6 days per week 2. So I have renamed the calendar to Arba 6 days per week 2. Now let us observe and see how can we modify this Arba 6 days per week 2 calendar using the detailed work hours per day option. So I'll click on Modify. Okay, the detailed work hours per day is selected here already. If you see the difference in the total work hours per day, we have work hours per day is just displaying there the total number of hours, which is 8 hours per day. Now, as soon as we click on detailed work hours per day, we have the small window called work hours is displaying there. And here you see the things have become more detailed, and now the section previously in case of total work hours per day has become, and it changes to show all hours available in a day, which is broken down into 30 minutes intervals. And here we can set any 30 minutes interval as available or unavailable for work just by double clicking on any of the 30-minute interval. Every hour is divided into two small rectangles or boxes. First part is, the first box is 30 minutes starting from 00 to 30 minutes, and the second box is another 30 minutes. That makes total 1 hour. So we have all 24 hours which are getting displayed in this work hours window, and we can define the break times and other settings in more details as compared to the total work hours per day. Now I want you to pay attention and observe here that in the work hours sections, we have the time slots in gray color and have the other time slots showing in white color. The gray color means that this is the time where we are not working, while the white color time slot represents the work time. So for example, in this particular case, from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., we are working 4 hours in the first half of the day. Then from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. we have lunch break. And then starting from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. we are again working for the second half of the day. So that makes total 8 hours of work in a single day, with 1 hour lunch break starting from 12 to 1 p.m. As I said earlier, please don't forget that every rectangle box or time slot, it represents 30 minutes interval, and these two 30 minutes time slots are equal to 1 hour work or non-working time. It's very important to note here that changing the work time to non-working time or from non-working to work time is very easy. I will click on the particular time slot and press the shift key on my keyboard, select the second time slot. Similarly, I can select rest of the time slots as needed. Okay, then click on click on non-work button. You see immediately after that, the color of these time slot changes to gray. I mean, these are grayed out, means this is the non-working time now. So in a similar way, if I want to make it work, I will simply click on the work button on the right side and the color changes back. Now the gray color disappeared and it is showing the white color now. That means this is the work time now. So this is how we can assign the working or the non-working time using the detailed work hours per day option. Now we know that how to assign a work or a non-working time in the work hours sections when the detailed work hours per day option is selected. Now going back to our original discussion, remember we wanted to create a 6 days calendar, but this time we wanted to use the detailed work hours per day option. So in this case, what we'll do is we'll click on work week. Now you see here we have the day of the week where all the 7 days of the week are displaying here. On the right side, the work hours are displaying where it is showing all the 24 hours and every hour is representing the 2 time slots. Okay, now the Sunday, you see all the slots are grayed out. That means it's a non-working day. Monday, we have our work is starting from 8 a.m. We are working till 12 p.m. in the first half of the day. Then 12 to 1 p.m. we have lunch break. Then from 1 to 5 p.m. we have work time in the second half of the day. Now, if I click on Tuesday and let my mouse left clicked, keep it pressed and drag it down till Friday, you see it is representing the same time. We are working from 8 to 12 p.m. with 1 hour lunch break from 12 to 1 p.m. and then another 4 hours from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Now I will click on Saturday. You see our Saturday is showing the non-working day. Since we copied this calendar from our default calendar, in order to make our calendar 6 days per week, we have to make Saturday a work day. So here in the Saturday, I want to start work from the 9 a.m. in the morning, and I'll keep pressed my left mouse button and move till the 6 p.m. in the evening. I will click on work button on the right side. You see the color, the gray color is disappeared now. Now that means on Saturday we are starting our work at 9 a.m. and working till 6 p.m. and I will assign the lunch break between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. and I will click on non-work time. So what we have done on Saturday, we are starting our work at 9 a.m. in the morning and working till 2 p.m. Then from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. we have lunch break. Then we have another 3 hours of work starting from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. I will click OK now. Now you see immediately after that, the Saturday that was previously showing in gray color means it was non-working day, and now all these days in this month are changed to the normal working day. So you see, if I click on any date in the Saturday, it is showing exactly the changes we have made previously. We are starting our work from 9 a.m. and working till 2 p.m. Then from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. we have lunch break, and then from 3 to 6 p.m. we are working for another 3 hours. That makes total 8 hours of work in a single day. So I'm sure you will be able to modify your calendar exactly as per your own project requirement easily by using the detailed work hours per day option as needed in your project. Now, another important thing that we need to consider here is the public holidays in our project. Let's say our project has a public holidays on 1st of May, which is a Labor Day, and then we have another 3 holidays in December from 25th to 27th of December due to the Christmas holidays. I will click here, and then after this, since 1st of May is public holiday, so I'll click on May, click on 1st of May, then I will simply click on non-work button here. That makes the 1st of May as a holiday. Now, next I will go to the month of December. Now here in December, the project has holidays from 25th to 27th of December due to Christmas. I will click on 25th, hold on my shift key on the keyboard and click on 27th, and I will click on non-work. So you see, from 25th of December till 27th of December, these are grayed out. Our project is gonna have Christmas holidays between 25th of December till 27th of December. Okay, so till now we have learned to create our calendar in the global category. We have created 2 calendars, Arba 6 days per week, and we modified this calendar by using the total work hours per day option. Then we created another calendar called Arba 6 days per week 2, and we modified this calendar by using the detailed work hours per day. And here we can change the working hours of our calendar as per our specific project requirements. Okay, so we are in the global calendars category now, and already we have learned the procedure to create the global calendars as needed. If you can remember, as I said earlier, that the global calendars can be applied to all the projects in the organization as needed. Let's learn to create the resource calendars in the resource calendars category. So I will click on resource radio button now. Here I will click on add. It is opening up the select resource window in front of us, as you can see here, where I need to select the resource. Since we are going to cover the resources topic in our coming lectures in the course, so let me select any random resource from this list just for the sake of exercise. So I will select Painter, for example, and click on the select button on the right side. Now I will rename this resource calendar to Arba PM, for example. Now let me click on modify button on the right side. After, I will click on total work hours per day. Let's say our PM or project manager is working 3 days per week. Now in order to modify, I will click on work week. Okay, now our PM is working on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. Now Thursday, Friday, I will make these as 0. And after that, I will click on OK button here. Now you see, the Thursday, Friday and Saturdays are the non-working days for the Arbor project manager, and he will be working 3 days a week on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday only. So I'll click on OK now. Now if required, I can modify this calendar by clicking on Modify button, and I can use the detailed work hours per day if I need to modify the working hours as per our own specific project requirements. But at the moment it's okay for me, since the project manager will be working from 8 to 12, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. and he will have break 12 p.m. till 1 p.m. Then from 1 p.m. till 5 p.m. he will work for another 4 hours. So he'll be working 3 days a week, 8 hours per day. I'll click on OK button. Another important point to remember here, that whenever we'll assign this particular calendar to a certain project activity, that project activity will be scheduled. I mean, the Oracle Primavera P6 will schedule the particular activity based on this calendar and will calculate the activity duration accordingly. Another key point to remember here, as I said earlier, that the personal resource calendars are resource specific only, and here the calendar Arba PM we have created is the resource specific only. Now if I want to share this calendar with the other resources, then I need to make it a shared resource calendar. Now in order to make this shared resource calendar, if you see on the right side, we have two shared button there. If I click on this to shared button, so it will give me the message, are you sure you want to convert this calendar to shared resource calendar? I will say yes. Now you see the Arba PM, it has moved down under the shared resource calendar. That means this calendar can now be shared among the other resources as well. Now if I want to change this calendar back under the personal resource calendars and make it a resource specific only, then I can use the to personal button to change it back as needed, from a shared resource calendar to a personal resource calendar if required. Now also please notice that we can move our shared resource calendar Arba PM to the global calendars list by clicking on the to global button, so that we can make it available to use it for all other projects across the organization as needed. Now let's move to our project calendar category by clicking on the project radio button, and in order to add the new calendar here, I will click on add button on the right side. Okay, now let me copy the Arba 6 days per week and select it. Now you see the new calendar, it is appeared in the window under project calendars. So I will rename this to Arba Head Office Building Calendar, and after this I will click on modify button. So this is a 6 days per week, 8 hours a day. I want to make this calendar to 5 days a week. That means I have to make the Saturdays the non-work days. So I will click on work week and make the Saturday as 0. So if you see here, the under standard work hours, we have Sunday, that is non-working day. Then from Monday to Friday we'll be working, and the Saturday is non-working day. I'll click OK. Now you see immediately after that the Saturday has become grayed out and it is changed to non-working time. Now if I click on detailed work hours per day for my project called Arba Head Office Building Project, this calendar looks okay with me because the work starts at 8 a.m. in the morning till 12 p.m. and then we have break time from 12 to 1 p.m. for lunch, and then the work starts again at 1 p.m. till 5 p.m. for the second half of the day. That means 8 hours a day. So I'll click OK. Now let us make this calendar Arba head of us building calendar to global calendar so that we can share it across other projects in the organization. I will click on to global and it will give me the notification that are you sure you want to convert this calendar to a global calendar? I will click yes. Now it has disappeared from the projects calendars list, and if I click on global calendars now you see here the Arba head of us building calendar is there appearing under global calendars category now. That means I can assign this calendar to any other project in the organization whenever needed. So we have learned already that how to create the global calendars, how to create the calendars in the resource calendars category. Then we also created the calendars in the projects category as well. Now let me click on close button to close this calendars window, and let's learn the procedure to assign these calendars to the project activities as needed. Now please remember here, assigning the project calendar is easy. We can select the relevant project we want to assign the default calendar, and in the project detailed form below I will click on defaults. In the defaults we have a calendar options there, and I can use the browse button to browse the required calendar and can assign it to my project calendar accordingly. But here one important point to remember that you cannot assign a particular calendar unless it is moved to the global calendars category. For example, let me go to the calendars window by clicking on enterprise menu. Then I will click on the calendars option here. Now what I mean to say is whatever calendar you will create under the project category or under the resource category, you have to move these calendars to the global calendars category in order to assign it to your project and to your project activities as needed whenever required. For example, just for the sake of exercise, if I click on resource, remember we created our resource calendar Arba PM previously, and we shared this calendar by moving it under shared resources calendar by clicking on to shared button. Now for example, if I want to assign this particular resource calendar to a certain activity, let me close this calendar. I will go to the activities window. For example, let's say I will click on review and approve designs. Now I will go to the journal tab. In the journal tab, you see in the activity details form, we have activity calendar option here. Now, if I click on browse button under activities calendar, you see here, if you can observe, our resource calendar called Arba PM is not here because in order to assign those calendar, it has to be in the global calendars category. If I click on project calendars, nothing is there. So I will move back to the global calendars. That means the calendars you create under resource calendars category and projects calendar category, better to move them in the global category to assign it to the activities and the projects as needed. So what I will do is I will go back to my calendars by clicking on enterprise menu at the top. Then I will click on calendars option here. Okay, now in the resources, I will click on Arba PM and I will click on the to global button on the right side. Let's say if I click it here, are you sure you want to convert this calendar to the global calendar? I'll click yes. Now the calendar has disappeared from the resources calendar category and it has moved to the global calendar categories, as you can see here in the calendars window. Now I will close this window. I will go back to my activities table view. My activity called review and approve designs is selected there already. Now in the activity details form below in the journal tab, now if I click on browse button under activity calendar option, now you see the Arba PM, which was our shared resource calendar, in the resource calendars category, I can assign it to the activity I want. and it has appeared already in the global calendars category now, and I can see it in the list here. So that means I can assign this calendar to any activity I want. I will close this window by clicking on cross button. Let me make it very clear that you can still keep your calendar under the project calendar category or the resource calendars category if you don't want to share it across the other projects or the resources in the organization. I mean, in the calendars window, you see, if you create any calendar or under resources calendars category or under projects calendar category, then you don't need to share it necessarily. You can share it project or the resource calendar only if you want to make it available, if you want to make it shared and want to assign it to the other projects or the resources in the organization as well. But if you just want to keep it for your project and keep it under project calendars category, then it can only be assigned for the projects it is created for. Similar case is there for the resources calendar category as well. Okay, so let me close this window. So one way to assign activity calendar is by clicking on the particular activity. Let's say, for example, prepare building design, and then in the journal tab in the activity details form below, we have activity calendar option here. I will click on browse button, and from here, for example, I want the calendar ARBA 6 days per week to, and that is what I want to assign it to the activity called prepare building design. And here I will click on select button. Now you see the activity calendar is changed to ARBA 6 days per week 2. Similarly, the next activity, review and approve designs, I will select this, and in the journal tab under activity calendar, I will click on browse button and select another calendar, ARBA 6 days per week, and in the select activities calendar window, I will click select button. Now this activity called review and approve designs has a new calendar assigned, which is called ARBA 6 days per week. Now another easy way to assign the calendar to the project activities is by adding the calendar column in the activities table view, and for this I will click on columns icon in the display toolbar at the top, and you see the columns window is opened in front of us. Now here I will click on available options and then select the find option from here, and in the find what I will type calendar and click on find next. Now you see we can have the calendar column. I will close this window. The calendar column is already selected. I will click on add to the list. Now our calendar column will be added to the activity table after the activity ID. I will click apply. As you see, as I said earlier, the calendar column is appeared after the activity ID. So I will click on OK to close the columns window. Now you can observe here the ARBA 6 days per week 2 that we assigned earlier for the prepare building design, and the ARBA 6 days per week which was assigned to the review and approve designs activity in the calendar column. Now in order to assign the calendar to the activities under foundation WBS element, I will click here on that particular cell for site preparation in the calendar column, and you see the select activity calendar window is appearing here in a similar way we did in the activity detailed form in the journal tab, as you can see here. Now I want to select the ARBA head office building calendar for this particular activity, and I will click on select button here. Now you see similarly for the next activity called excavation, I will click here and let me select the same calendar, ARBA head office building calendar for this particular activity as well. I will select this, and now if I want to select the same calendar to the multiple activities, so instead of clicking on every activity one by one, I can assign the same calendar to all the activities at once. For example, I will hold on my control key on the keyboard and click on the next cell, that is for install underground water lines. Then I will click the next one, install underground electric conduit. Similarly, all these activity, form, pour, concrete footings, concrete foundation walls, and form and pour slab, and backfill and compact walls. After selecting the activities, I want to assign the same calendar, ARBA head office building calendar. I will press Ctrl E from my keyboard altogether, and you see immediately after that the same calendar is assigned to the other activities as well. So this was another quick way to assign the calendar to the multiple activities at once. Now the project calendar can be assigned by clicking on the projects window in the active windows tab title bar. Okay, I will select my project, and in the defaults tab in the project detailed form below, we have the calendar option. I can click on calendar and let me assign the calendar we created earlier called ARBA head office building calendar. I will select this and I'll click on select icon in the set default project calendar. Let me click on this, and you see our default calendar has been changed to ARBA head office building calendar. So from now on, whatever new activities we will create in our project, those activities will be assigned the new calendar called ARBA head office building calendar automatically by default. Another key point to remember here that, as you know, previously our project default calendar was corporate standard full-time, and since we have changed the default calendar to ARPA head office building calendar, so definitely it is going to affect our project as well as activity durations. Okay, great. So now let's just quickly refresh what we have learned in this particular lesson about creating and assigning the calendars in Oracle Primavera P6. If you can recall that the calendar is used to define the working and non-working time, holidays, lunch breaks, etc. in a certain project schedule. In the Oracle Primavera P6, we have three types of calendars where we can create new calendars used in the project schedule. First category is global, second category is resource calendar types, and the third category is project calendar types. Please remember, the global category calendars are used to every project and activities in the organization. The resource calendars can be created for the different project resource types, and further, we can divide the resource calendar types as personal resource calendars and shared resource calendars. The personal resource calendar is used for the specific resource type only for which it is created for, while the shared resource calendar, it can be used for all other resources as needed. Now next we have third calendar category type, which is called project calendars. Project calendars can only be used for the specific project type it is created for. Also, please remember here that if needed, we can always move our project or resource calendar to global calendar category in case if you want to share these calendar types with other project activities or resources in your organization. Now, it is very important for you to remember that in order to create the project calendar, the project has to open in the Oracle Primavera P6. Otherwise, if you will try to create the project calendar without opening your project, the project option is disabled here. I mean, you can just create the global and the resource calendars, but the project calendars will be grayed out. Now, once you have created your project calendar, you can assign it to your project in the details form in the defaults tab as required. So once you have created your project calendar, you can assign it to your project in the details form in the defaults tab as required. Similarly, there are two ways that you can use to assign activity calendars. first method is that you can assign using the table view and can add the calendar column here using the columns icon in the display toolbar at the top in the Oracle Primavera P6 main screen. Secondly, you can assign activity calendar using the General tab in the activity details form below whenever needed. Please always remember that if you want to assign calendar to many activities at the same time, I would suggest to use the calendar column, and there you can use Ctrl+E keys from your keyboard. I mean using the fill down option. This way you can save a lot of time by assigning calendar quickly to many activities at the same time. Okay, so good luck, and I hope you had a wonderful time learning here. And still, if you have any question related to calendars, please always post your question in the Udemy course question and answer area, and I will try to respond as soon as I can. Thank you, and see you in the next lesson. Goodbye.